get started, we got quite a bit on the agenda today. We actually have two meetings, the budget meeting, the budget presentation inside of a regular meeting, and lots of financial numbers to look at. I'm sure you guys will probably stick around to see all that. We're going to do you guys right after the we open the regular meeting, and so we'll do that right at the front so you can go out and enjoy the weather instead of sitting in here. So, but thanks for coming, and we're really happy that you're here, and happy that we're going to be able to do this swearing in today. We'll start with volunteer pension board meeting. Call that to order, and we need approval of the November 15 meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Volunteer separation.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we do have one volunteer separation this afternoon for you to take action on. Malcolm Simshauser was a volunteer with us for quite a number of years out of Station 72 up in Northwood. He recently got transferred to Georgia with his job, which was U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And he's going to be down there at one of their academies teaching emergency medical to their recruits. So that's a step up for him. And he came in and had an exit interview with me, and real nice guy. And he's looking up and moving on. So we're looking to separate him this evening.
We hate to lose him, but it's nice to have a part in his career development.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a good thing. Okay, is there a motion to approve that separation?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any other business before the volunteer pension board?
Okay.
Okay, we'll adjourn that meeting. We'll call our regular board of commissioners meeting to order, and we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. But as we stand, I'd ask we have a moment of silence for Alec North, 24-year volunteer who died just last week. And was a volunteer at Laurel for many, many years. Very well known and well-liked volunteer. So we'll stand and do that. And then Henry lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any public comments signed up? Okay. We'll move on to the oath of office ceremony.
Very, very good. This afternoon, Commissioners, we have some of our newest volunteers here that are going to be getting sworn in, getting their badges pinned on, and of course this is one of my favorite things to do here at the fire department. So without further ado, we'll get started with that. And if I could ask the three of you to come on forward here. Four of you to come forward. Three or four? Okay, come on up.
You can bring them all the way up, and we can keep them on.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Come right around, guys. Sorry, we're doing TV.
Project into the world. This is live stream.
So we have Noah Silverman and Sam Brywichman
You can do it,
and
Liz.
Vince Segura-Vivas. Very good. And these gentlemen just finished their fire academy with the Whatcom County Recruit Academy, and did very well from what I understand, and got a lot of good training, and we're certainly happy to have you, and I know that you must feel relieved to be through that training. Are you still going to be going through EMT training, or do some of you have it?
I'll do it.
Okay. Great, great. Well, congratulations from me, the fire chief. So the first thing we'll do is we'll do the swearing in, and then we'll do the badge pinning, and if you have somebody special in the audience that you'd like to pin your badge on, we'll just do it one at a time. And after that, shake hands with the commissioners and enjoy your new position as volunteers.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll do the swearing in. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I speak your name.
I, Sam
Do solemnly swear and affirm
solemnly swear and affirm
to do my duty as a firefighter for North Whatcom Fire Rescue to the best of my ability.
to do my duty as a North Whatcom Fire Rescue to the best of my ability.
You got it? That's a long one. To serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity.
To serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity.
To serve the citizens of Whatcom County with compassion, courage, and integrity.
serve as citizens of Whatcom County with passion, courage,
And integrity?
and integrity.
Good. And to uphold the laws and constitutions
To uphold the laws and constitutions
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the state of Washington,
the state of Washington,
and North Whatcom Fire and Rescue,
and North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
so help me God.
So help me God.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And starting over here, do you have someone special that would like to pin your badge? They can come forward. Who is this special person?
This is my mother.
Yeah?
My wife, Caroline.
Draw blood, you know.
My sister Zoe.
Ladies and gentlemen, and commissioners, our newest volunteer firefighters. Congratulations. Thank you. Congrats. Great job. Great job. Congrats. No.
Oh, yeah, sign that. Oh, sorry. Now I'll get copies.
Okay, I think, we can get ready. Probably we're gonna open the public hearing for the budget presentation. We'll probably need a few minutes to get ready for that. I think Jenny said the rest we need to do. Oh, yeah, we can do roll call, don't we? Yeah, Jenny. It's amazing that these first three hours. We'll start over here, roll call.
Henry Hollander.
Dean Burton. Larry McPhail.
Rich Foster.
Bruce Ansel.
John Crawford.
William Burnett.
John Winchester. Yeah, we did roll call, Jenny.
Thank you.
All right.
We're just getting some AV set up for you so you don't have to move. Oh. Presto.
There it is.
Okay, it's not showing what's on my screen.
That's the end of the budget presentation. Was yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Let me just check my computer out. It's flashing all over the place. Okay, we try this again.
There it is. Hey!
There we go.
Go ahead and start, we just need to talk.
Okay, well, commissioners, do we open the public,
We did?
we did? Okay, thank you, sorry I missed that. Commissioners, what I have to present to you this afternoon is a presentation on the 2019 budget, which will go through various aspects of all the budget and a lot of the things we've talked about in the previous two budget study sessions. And then at the end of the presentation, and even during the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. But at the end of the presentation, you should have all the information you need to be able to make a decision on adopting the 2019 budget. All righty. Are you ready? So this shared vision that we came up with as a collective group back in 2015 still stands today, and I like to kind of throw it up at the beginning of our budget presentation, because I think a lot of what is said here is used to help craft the budget and how we're going to spend our money, and especially accomplish our mission through fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers of the district. And so with that in mind, as we go through the budget, I try to keep that in mind as it's being developed, and as we're putting the importance on the things that we need to do to accomplish our mission in the coming year. Direction-wise, again, this is direction from not only the commissioners, but from the taxpayers and the fire chief's office. But we believe that fiscal responsibility to our taxpayers is very important. We allocate our funds, and we try to link them to the strategic plan so we can show that there is a plan in place and that we have a vision. Continuing to streamline processes is a lot of what I've done over the last couple of years to find efficiencies in different places, and places where we don't need to spend money if we don't have to, and we can move it to other areas that are more important. And again, I think the board had given me the clear vision to improve on our existing search for new and innovative and responsible revenue streams. And that doesn't always mean going back to the taxpayer and asking for an ops levy or an increase in your rate or anything like that, but it means looking for other grants and things such as GD&T program. So we've had some successes with that, I'm glad to say. So looking forward, I like to kind of put a projection out into what the possible issues will be, not only now but in the future, looking forward to funding. And some of the things are good, and some of the things we're going to need to keep an eye on. But property values are still rising. I don't know about you, but my tax bill went up quite a bit this year, and then I'll show you a little bit later some graphs that show exactly how much they went up. And so the economy is still on the rise. I think that most likely in the next year or two, you're going to start to see it plateau a little bit based on what the financial analysts are saying, and it'll kind of even out. But new construction is just going crazy in Whatcom County. We got more for new construction in 2019 than since probably just before the recession hit. So there's a lot of building going on, which means the economy is strong. Good thing for District 21 is the debt payments that you have for the 3 engines and ladder truck will be paid off next year, at the end of next year. So that'll free up quite a bit of money, about $250,000 back into your operating budget that you don't currently get now. You can make payments on. District 4, as far as they're concerned, they have their EMS levy, which is still working for them and is being supplemented by the county tax levy. So there's been no changes to the amount of money they get on that, even though the county passed their own EMS levy. And then annexation agreements continue to be had with the city of Bellingham as they continue to annex the UGA, which District 4's area lies in. So they're not really losing any money, it's being phased out over time, over a period of 3 or 4 years. So there's an ability for them to adjust to that, which is good. Our transport revenues are increasing. We're running more calls, we're billing more patients, and those monies are continuing to increase for us. Again, we're always looking at grant funding opportunities, whether it's Assistance to Firefighters grant or other state grants. We're constantly looking at those. And then, of course, the GD&T program, which I know the commissioners are very familiar with based on the presentations that I've made this last year. The monies are coming, it's slow, the state's involved, so you can only imagine when the feds and the state get involved. It makes it a little slow. We just got notice today that the first payment now is going to be delayed again until first quarter of next year. We were supposed to get it in November, and I just got notice again that it was supposed to be December, now it's being delayed until next quarter. So we hope to see those monies start coming in next year. Okay, based on what the commissioners, have told me, and what my staff and I have all agreed to, is that our fiscal areas of focus for 2019, again, constant staffing levels operationally, That's a big deal, you know, being in an auto aid agreement now with the city of Bellingham has kind of forced our hand with that, but it's a good thing. It's better service to the public, better safety for the firefighters, and more efficient. So those constant staffing levels won't come without a cost. So that's been figured into the budget for 2019. Healthcare, another big area of fiscal focus, and I'll get more into healthcare here as we go along, be a little more specific about that. We still have operational and capital item needs in the district, and you guys all know that you know, we're going to probably most likely have to go out and buy some new SCBA's this next year to start replacing those. We're going to have potentially some apparatus capital needs, and so those things continue. Funding our wage and benefit increases based on our latest contract with the labor union. We have increases that were retroactive and also moving into next year have been also been figured into the budget. The new fire chief and division chief, potentially division chief search, I should say, but new fire chief search consultant, those fees were budgeted into the operations budget for next year, in case you want to use them for that. And by your direction, also the master planning consultant fees have also been budgeted into the 2019 budget. The fire prevention division, you'll see a change there. The obvious change is that Chief Hollander's position was moved over to that division because the vision of the board and the fire chief has been that we want to create a fire marshal type position over there that can oversee a public education prevention division and start building that leg of our stool. So that's the first thing we did, is just move that over there. So it came out of facilities and moved it over to fire prevention division, and I'll point that out to you when we get there. And then the other thing that was a focus was to bolster our awards program here at the district, to be able to recognize those folks that go above and beyond the call of duty and that are doing a great job out there. And so we added more money to that budget line item based on your recommendations, and I can point that out to you as well. Some of our challenges are going to continue to be our property tax statutory limitations, and you all know about the maximum 1% that we can increase our budget per year on taxes. And again, our expenses are still outpacing our revenues. That eventually is going to be a problem, and so that's why I'm looking for this additional funding, and perhaps even maybe in the future looking to go back to the taxpayer for a levy lift if it gets to that point, or maybe an operations type of levy to help continue to fund the service that we have, because our healthcare costs this year were about a 7%, a little over 7% increase over last year. Our liability insurance was about a 4% increase over last year. Our personnel and labor costs continue to rise, and our labor and industry costs were up about 8% this year. So you can see when you only get 1% increase to your budget, and you're getting multiple numbers for increases in the other areas, eventually it's going to catch up with you. So those are the things that you're going to want to be concerned about in the future. And again, we still have the day-to-day operations we have to keep running, the operational needs of the district, the soft supplies, the equipment that we have to buy to keep the fire trucks in service. And then we have capital needs and replacement equipment, like I mentioned before, that are starting to wear out, that will need to be considered. So let me kind of blow this up a little bit here if I can. This is a 6-year comparison of our healthcare costs, and I like to throw this chart in because it gives the commissioners a good idea of kind of where our healthcare costs are running from year to year under the self-funded plan that we currently are in. And I'll point out specifically 2018, and you'll see that we only have data up to just about October. We don't have the rest of the data inputted yet. But we're having a pretty good year on claims this year. And what I mean by that, we've had fairly low claims, and we were able to enjoy a fairly decent renewal rate this year. And so what I see in trend here is that about every other year we have a good year. And it's been balancing out so far, you know. But the nice thing about being self-funded is that if we do have a good year, the department gets to keep the savings from that. It doesn't go to the insurance company. So that's one nice thing about being self-funded. All right, so when looking at health insurance, and again, I point this stuff out because this is, to me, this is going to be one of the biggest financial hurdles that you're going to have to get over in the next couple of years, because as you know, insurance continues to get more expensive, and there's no getting around that. And we're going to have to try and figure out a way to keep funding that at the current level that we are with our schedule of benefits plan. So self-funded is what we currently are, and like I said, there are some advantages of being self-funded over traditional, and there's some disadvantages. This year we renewed with CAS because they, again, gave us a very good renewal rate, and we found that based on their schedule of benefits, they were actually the best schedule of benefits, and we looked at a lot of different agencies. We looked at the Left Trust, the Northwest Firefighters Trust, the National General, partial self-funded plan, and out of all those, CAS worked hard to keep our business, and they gave us a good rate. And so the healthcare committee worked really hard. I have to give them kudos to go out and get a lot of this information done and compared, and we met several times and went over this and felt that the best choice was to stay with CAS. And we also felt that getting away from the Cigna network was affordable. Initially, the renewal was about 3% with Cigna, and that's the physician network that we were currently under that we switched to last year. Not a lot of people were happy with Cigna. There's a lot of restrictions on physicians and things you can see, so I opted to switch back to the First Choice Network at the 7.68% increase, because I knew I could still afford that and it would be a better thing for the employees. So we went ahead and did that. Our yearly max liability for our medical insurance is the $1.5 million figure you see there. Typically, I don't budget that entire amount. That's what we're on the hook for if we had maximum claims. But because we don't ever really reach maximum claims, I budget 80% of the max liability. If I had to budget max liability, we would not have a balanced budget. That's the bottom line, we couldn't afford it. So it works out, and we never tend to get near that maximum. And so that's also why we have a healthcare savings account that we can use in case we do. So we have money in the bank that can help offset that. A traditional plan, is we looked at them, and they're great from the standpoint of you pay your bill and that's it. You don't worry about it. But then again, if there's any savings, the insurance company gets that. You don't get it back. So that's the difference. All right, long-term debt. Again, I mentioned this a little earlier, but if you look at the very bottom line here and kind of blow this up a little bit, this is the remaining debt that District 21 has now from our commissioner bond. And again, in 2019, the $239,588 will be paid off at the end of 2019, and we'll free up those funds. The other properties and everything on here, that like the Angar property at Station 71, all that was paid off back in 2015.
Chief, just one question on that. Will that number potentially be less if we're using some of the mitigation funds, or we kind of tap that out for the ladder truck? Do we know?
We have paid some of the monies towards the ladder truck portion of that, and yes, it has lowered it somewhat. So if we continue to do that, we will lower it. However, you don't get out of the interest payment from it. That's why I wanted to pay it off early, but there's no benefit in it because they still charge you all the interest. So that's just kind of the way they do the bonds. Okay, here's some interesting graphs for you. The District 21 assessed values, and again, this is an 8-year comparison on the top graph of where our values, assessed valuations were. And as you can see, you can see the recession part in there in the middle where our values dropped, and you can see where we are now in 2018, where our values are at the very top. You can see a little bit better. There you go. So we made some pretty big gains there in our assessed valuations. And then new construction values, as you can see, we're at $70,785. So, I mean, we are, I'm sorry, 70 million. We are way above where we were just back in 2011. So, I mean, we really made a rebound in new construction very well. I mean, fairly near where we were in 2009, just before the bubble burst. So, we're doing well with that. So just to review on what it is we ask the county for, what we ask the taxpayers for. We ask them to collect all of the revenues due to us based on the assessed valuation of property, new construction, any state assessed property, annexations, and any refund amounts. And I'll talk a little about that in a minute. And again, we're limited to the 1% increase to our budget due to the tax reform laws. And we get the 1% if we're not at our maximum levy rate, which is $1.50. And the commissioners approved the resolution, which you did last month. And the state automatically adjusts our levy rate based on property values. We don't get to control our levy rate, unfortunately.
Chief, if in the future property values go up and our levy rate goes down, let's say it goes to $1.40, can we as a board raise that, or does it have to go to a vote? But we can ask for that. Is that the levy?
You can ask for a lid lift, yes.
Up to $1.50.
Yes.
So if
That's
we
my
had,
understanding.
that's kind of
Simple majority.
we would go to the public for a simple majority.
Yeah.
Do we know what the cost to run that on the ballot?
I'm thinking it would be around probably about 10 grand or so.
Oh, no, more than that.
Think so? Okay.
Well, Chief, then you say, for instance, you notice how the real estate values have increased so much. Do we see any income from that without 1%? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
We're limited to the 1%.
So it could go up to 200% instead of 10%, and it wouldn't benefit us at all.
Just the 1%.
Just the 1%.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
So you
your
don't,
levy
so
rate-
when the economy's good, government agencies can't take a windfall from that. That's the kind of a law, the windfall law. So the taxpayers don't get hit super hard, because I think it was back in the 70s, they passed the 70s, or late 70s, they passed the, maybe in the early 70s, they passed the reform law here in Washington that keeps us to the 1%, which makes it very difficult to run a fire district or any small taxing district when it's hard to keep up.
That's what I'm thinking. It doesn't make much sense from our viewpoint, maybe the taxpayer's viewpoint.
Some people view it as a broken system that we have to go out and ask for levy lid lifts to fix. Some people view it that way. Other people that are anti-tax don't view it that way.
Okay.
So depending on the climate that you're in,
Yeah,
it can make a lot of difference.
sure, and I think a lot of it has to do too with how we connect with our communities out there, with our firefighters that are out on the street, connecting with our people out there, and helping them in their time of need. And I think the message should be that, we help you in your time of need, and you'll help us in our time of need. And I think that really rings true in my experience of other fire districts I've been involved with. When you can really get your community behind you, it's usually not an issue, because if everyone knows that how important emergency services are. You need them when you need them. So again, what tax revenues do we receive? Again, we talked about the 1%. So this in 2019, I'm sorry, in 2018, our highest lawful levy was $6,009,023, and per the law, we get a 1% increase over our highest lawful levy, which equals the $60,000 number. Plus, we get to add our new constructions and any utility costs, which is $99,967.30. And still yet to be unknown, but we do get some state assessed property tax, and we get some refund amount, which is typically taxes that were canceled or refunded from exemptions, corrections, Board of Equalization orders. We usually get a little bit of money in there, but we won't know those numbers until late this month, early next month. So we're kind of forced to guess our budget number a little bit until then. So you'll often see a budget amendment, in January to address that. So total tax and new construction right now is estimated to be about $160,057.53 additional to our budget over last year. It's in taxes. I'm not talking about ambulance transport fees or anything else, but just in taxes. So if you calculate it out, our rate will be anywhere from around $1.38 to $1.40 for next year, potentially, depending on what the final numbers come out. So the good thing is we're not up against our maximum. We have some room.
Breathing room.
Yeah,
That's good.
But again, in the future, we'll probably need the district board or commission will need to probably evaluate going back to the taxpayers. I'll go through this stuff here in detail here in a few slides, but just kind of as an overview, here's what our budgeted revenues are for 2019. Again, property taxes, I increased that by 1% over last year. So the $5,555,500 number is what I budget. And again, I budget a little less than what we're expected to get, because you don't always get exactly what they say you're gonna get, right? There's people that don't pay their taxes, there's people that, all kinds of things happen, reassessments, reevaluations of properties, those kinds of things. So we stay pretty conservative on that number. We have other sources of revenue besides taxes. We get a little bit for timber excise tax. We get a little bit from grants, and those are usually EMS state grants or county grants that we get. The big number here is from the District 4 contract of $1.8 million, and we get a little bit of money from the Nooksack Casino for a contract protecting them. State parks for fire protection, we get a small amount of money for protection. We get some stuff from school districts. Our ambulance transport fees are estimated to be about $410,000 next year. We do have a contract for apparatus repair with Linden, that's $21,000. We do get investment interest from some of our investment accounts in the amount of $44,000. Rental income, again, this is rentals of our properties. So the training center, for instance, anytime someone uses the burn room, they have to pay a rental fee. Anytime people train out there, they pay rental fees. And that's where that number comes from. And then leasehold excise tax is about $500, and I know it says SRA rent there. We don't actually rent to them anymore, but this will include some of the other rentals that we currently have, like the new Brennick contract that we have. There'll be a leasehold excise tax paid to us for the leasing of the parking spaces that the commissioners approved, and also some of that leasehold excise comes from Pogo Zone, who does some wireless internet stuff at some of our stations and rents space from us for that. And that's a pass-through that goes directly to the state. They give it to us, and we give it directly to the state. The state requires that.
Yeah, I was reading it, I didn't understand. When I first went over that, where'd that money go?
Yeah, it's just a pass-through. They have, because we're a government agency, and when we contract with a non-governmental agency such as a private citizen or private company, the state requires a tax.
With the portal.
Yeah, that's it.
We do get a fraction of it back, like 2%.
Oh, do we? Okay.
Yeah, it's a small percentage that does come back.
I wasn't aware of that. Thank you.
But we collect 13.8. I think 13.
I thought it was 11.7.
Somewhere between 11.7 and 13.
Yeah.
Is what we collect.
Correct. Reimbursements for medical are reimbursements to our self-funded insurance plan. So anytime we have an individual that exceeds the amount that the district pays for a claim, the reinsurance carrier picks that up and gives us a reimbursement for that. So we budget reimbursements fairly conservatively, but at $50,000, because we don't know what the claims are going to be for next year and how much we're actually going to get back. And we have some miscellaneous income, $4,000, and those are just things we don't expect to get, So like, we get some sort of income, whether it's a donation. We actually have a line for donations, but it's just random things. We get money from different areas, different places that aren't donations, and that's where it goes in that small fund.
Oh, could I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
What's our relationship financially with, say, all the Customs and Border Patrol buildings?
They're exempt from paying fire district taxes.
So they get free service?
Yes.
So the buildings are worth several $1 million.
Yeah, unfortunately, they get free service.
Because I know when my children were going to school, they paid a considerable amount of money to the schools for the kids. So yeah, I was wondering what our relationship is. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't. We can get money from state agencies and county agencies for protection.
Yeah.
But the feds are off limits, I guess.
Maybe they'll give us a grant.
Yeah, well, never know. And then gifts and pledges, we get very little of that, but we budgeted $500. And then our long-term obligation bond, which is the $242,700, and you get a total of $8,220,433. And on the next page, you'll see our budgeted expenses with the same total, $8,220,433. So we have a balanced budget, and each of these divisions I'll go into in detail here in the next few slides, but you can see the overall costs of the divisions, and you'll note too that the fire prevention division is quite a bit higher than last year, and that's because we moved Division Chief Hallner's position over there to that line item. Overall, this is our base budget. This doesn't include capital, those kinds of things, but you can see kind of the pie here and where most of our monies are going to operations, which is pretty normal, and that's what we do. That's the crux of the department, and the rest of it is for support divisions, admin, and legislative, fleet maintenance, facilities, public education, and training. And then this just shows with debt and capital the overall budget to $8,224,033, and where all the money is split up in the pie. This slide doesn't really show a lot of difference between the two pies here after I did it, but I wanted you to kind of show you the difference between 2018's budget breakdown and 2019. Not a lot has changed in where the monies are allocated, but as you can see, we had a net increase in the budget for 2019 of $144,900 that's budgeted. And again, you might recall we're getting a little bit more than that, most likely from the county, but we can't be sure what we're going to get, so it's better to go a little conservative. This next slide I have to point out a mistake on, and I'll give you the number here. For some reason this slide got replaced with my good slide, but it just shows a salary comparison, and it doesn't show 2019 like it should. But the 2019 number for salaries, and this is no benefits, just salaries, to kind of show you where our salaries are at over the 6-year period here, is $5,059,296. So again, our salaries are continuing to grow, and that comes in line with cost of living increases and those kinds of things. So, okay, so this is where the base budget gets broke down by division, and as I go through these slides, the information is pretty evident. If you have any questions about any of the information, please let me know. I'll stay on the slide until everybody's satisfied that they don't have any more questions about it. And here we go. So we'll start with Legislative and Administration Division. You have a couple charts here that kind of compare the last 4 years on the left, where everything is, and also on the bottom graph you see the actual numbers on what we spent in salaries, benefits, and operation total for those 4 years, and then what we were proposing for 2019. And then, of course, a pie chart to show you exactly the allocation between operations, benefits, and salary. So again, we have an increase of our budget for admin division this year from 760,055 to the 858,675 number. A lot of those numbers come from, as you see in your board books, your budget books, where you have the actual budget broke down. You'll see where those increases come from. The operations division. Again, the operations division is the majority of our employees, so you're going to get a lot of salaries and benefits in there. And so I'm always quite amazed that salaries and benefits for our folks are the biggest pie chart there. When you look at our operations, what we actually have to do the operations with is not that much, $136,515. But again, human resources are our most important resources, and that's why that pie is broke up that way. Moving on. Training division. So the training division is, again, we have one training captain that has a salary and benefit, and then the rest is entitled to operations for training. And as you can see, we've had a steady increase in the money that we have been putting into training, because we feel training is very important. In fact, a lot of people will tell you that if you go to a fire department, you can tell all about the fire department and how well they're doing by going to visiting their training division, and how progressive they are, or how much money they're putting into it, because that's a big part of what we do. Prevention and Public Education Division, you're going to see some funky stuff on the graph here, because again, we moved the division chief salary over for 2019. So So you're gonna see a new bar there that says salary, and benefits are different than what's been in previous years. And again, this is to help build the structure for what's to come in the future. And again, it'll be up to the board and the new chief to decide how they're gonna do that. Maybe they look at the consulting firm, the master plan, maybe they wait for that, maybe they don't. But it's always been my vision to try and grow that part of our department that we haven't spent a lot of money on in the last 4 or 5 years. And we had to downsize when the economy hit, downturn hit. So that's the intent, to try and get that back on track. Unfortunately, we don't have enough money to add any new positions this next year to that division. And then the facilities division, you'll see there's no longer a salary in there or benefits in there this year because we moved it. And you'll see that basically their entire division is operations. And you'll also notice that it's gone down a little bit. Of course, that's because of the movement of the position. Vehicle maintenance division has stayed fairly close to the same. They have a few increases, but really overall, not much. They're still maintaining their operations with $243,000, and of course the salaries and benefits include both the fleet maintenance supervisor and the mechanic. Any questions on divisions? So as you well know, we have reserve accounts or capital accounts that we maintain in the fire district, and I've always looked at these as the fire district savings accounts. The biggest one being our expense fund, and the expense fund is what we pay our monthly bills out of, our payroll, all the operational costs pretty much come out of that expense fund. And then we have other funds, the reserve fund, the LTGO, the health insurance, and so on, that we keep money in, like savings accounts, or pretty much one-time use type monies. So next year there's a couple changes that have come about. One of them being our health insurance fund. The state changed the amount of money you have to keep in your health insurance fund if you're self-funded as a department with insurance. I found this out from the auditor this year. It used to be 8% of your claims, of your total claim total, you had to have in reserve cash. They changed it to 16%. So you're going to see some monies have already been transferred into that account. This is actually from October, but some new balance in that account will be closer to about $420,000, somewhere right around there. That will keep a balance in, and that will satisfy the auditor. So
400,000
total, yeah. So right now we have, well, as of October we had 344,000. We're going to increase that to about 420,000. Again, we have mitigation funds that we continue to collect, and those have to be expensed within 5 years for capital stuff only. And so that can be a little challenging, but we're trying to be as creative as we can to try and get those monies spent. Because if we don't spend it, we have to give it back with interest. So
with interest?
with interest, yeah. Questions on fund balances? I did move some monies from the expense fund here in December over to some of our fund balances. We had some excess monies in our expense fund. Typically, it costs us about $600,000 a month to keep the lights on here. That's payroll, that's everything. And we get 2 big payments, April, October. So what we have in there now has to get us to April before we get our next big tax payment. But we have some extra money in there that we've accumulated some savings over 4 or 5 years from being diligent with our monies. And so I have not ever transferred any money out of our expense fund into our reserve account since I've been here. But in December, I decided to do that. So you're going to see different fund balances next month. We bolstered up some of the capital projects, capital apparatus, and some of these other funds with some money out of the expense fund. And that money can also be moved back and forth, so the commissioners have the ability to do that. But I figure why not earn better, more interest and stuff on it, and have some more money in our reserve fund, especially since you're looking at funding some different things next year. So you'll see some different totals there come the January meeting.
Chief, I know you won't be here, but I guess this is Chief Winchester. I'm curious about the mitigation fund and what we can legally spend it on and what our timelines are. I just, maybe could we briefly get a report on that as to, because I know it's limited as to what we can use it on and the time frames of it. Gives us an idea of maybe where we could help decide where to put that money. Or you can help us decide where we can put it, but yeah, I don't want to give it back, I don't want to pay interest on it, so.
Well, unfortunately, it has to be used for new infrastructure.
Right.
So it's tough. They make it so restrictive. But I know recently we were thinking about using it to have a consultant come in,
Right.
and our attorney gave us an opinion on that. Of no, you can't do that because doesn't fall within that area. But you're right. You probably need to come up with a game plan. Now that's too expensive. It's not just like sit there.
Yeah.
Will the sewer system fall under that?
It's not.
It's not new infrastructure.
Well, it has to be new infrastructure.
Yeah, mitigation fees are charged to builders because it's a way to offset the cost of the fire department having to respond to this new development that they develop before it's on the tax rolls. So in order for us to expense that money, it has to be towards something that helps serve that area. So it has to be something that helps serve that area, whether it be a new ladder truck or something like that. Say you had to buy a new ladder truck because they built a 7-story building.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a ladder truck. Those mitigation fees would be used to buy you a ladder truck to help serve that area. That's the spirit of what they want you to do with that money. So if you were going to build a brand new station to serve that area, you could use mitigation funds for that. But you couldn't use mitigation funds to build onto an existing station to help serve the area. That would not be allowed, as far as I know.
So if you follow that logic, if we need more people because of new construction, we should be able to get mitigation funds to pay for SCBA equipment for some people.
You'd have to show, you'd have to somehow show that it is a direct benefit of that construction, that now you have people living there and you gotta serve them, it's a new hardship, unfunded mandate you have to serve. I think that's the spirit of it. Rich, would you?
That's
agree?
pretty much the case. I can't remember the time frame in which you have to use the funds. Or is it
5 years, I believe.
5? Yeah. But the chief is generally correct.
It's a 5-year rolling window from when you receive them, right? So this fund may have 113,000 in it, but what we need to worry about is
what's coming
what's
due.
bumping to this 5-year, if we have any of that money.
So we're probably not in trouble yet as far as.
That I can tell you. Henry left, I'm not sure where he went.
I think there was about 20 grand in there that was coming due. Yeah.
Can we maybe get a spreadsheet on that and show?
Show the time frames, the amounts?
Yeah,
We can,
so that,
you bet.
and then maybe,
Then we have
an opinion on where we could spend it.
And if you like also, I can give you some thoughts and ideas on
Yeah.
where those can be spent.
Suggestions.
Absolutely.
That would be good.
Yes.
We need the players. How about fire?
Jet ski or something, jet ski or something.
Yeah, I'll buy a fireman.
Rough draft.
Drones, we need some drones.
I'd go with that. Yeah, some drone operators. Okay, any other questions on district fund balances?
You might need a fireboat to hit those new townhomes down at City
Canada has one. Okay, then we'll move on to capital items. I will say that I was able to fund pretty much all the capital requests for next year, except maybe one or two. I think one of them was some extrication equipment that was kind of not really super needed, was to replace and make standard another unit, but I was able to fund pretty much everything else. The most important ones are on here. The buildings and structures, that 42,000 is for septic system for Station 69, redesign and install.
How much was that?
42,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right at the top, under buildings and structures. And I think there's a little money in there too for some small upgrades to flooring in some of the stations as well. Other improvements, under that category, we have an IT system update for $15,000, and computer replacements. We have to start replacing our computers because Windows is stopping the support of Windows 7. And we're now going to have to go to Windows 10. So we have to replace some machines. Machinery and equipment, again, protective clothing. This is the $20,000 that we wanted to budget for the extra set of turnouts for next year for those individuals that would receive those, the $20,000. We have a need to upgrade our thermal imaging cameras. We're dealing with some really old ones that keep breaking on us and they're expensive to repair. Not only that, some of them are beyond repair, so we need to buy a few new ones. Rescue struts, which are the struts that we use for vehicle extrication. That's for an extra set for Engine 12 to make them compatible with the rest of the district. We have an old set of different off-brand ones that don't work very well. Then finally, the generator light for Engine 12 that was requested from the field. And that is like a Honda generator that has a light on top of it that's portable, you can carry around, that our other units carry, but they don't have. So your total is $131,600 in capital. And that concludes my presentation. And we're happy to interject or find any questions that you may have. You know, as you look through your board books, if you have any questions about a specific line item or anything that I can help to answer, please do before you consider approving the resolution for the budget next year.
We're going to approve this meeting. Yeah.
You got a question or comments for the chief?
No, thank you, Chief. That was very thorough and easy to understand. I appreciate all the work you've done on there.
Yeah, I appreciate the format.
Yeah, that format's good. I could actually understand quite a bit of it.
This year is a little challenging, I'll admit, over previous years to get a balanced budget with the amount of increases we got in those areas that I spoke about. And the only way for me to balance it was to take out overtime. So I feel we have enough money in overtime for next year, but it might be tight.
And did you raise for the staffing? So that should have dropped overtime a little bit.
Yeah, so since we're going to 12-person staffing a day, that's going to hopefully drop the overtime. We have 2 vacancies going in next year, which is fairly low for us. So we feel that we're going to be able to staff those, plus with the addition of mandatory overtime, article, those kinds of things. We'll have constant staffing, but that may raise our overtime costs in the summer months because that tends to be when most people take their vacations. But we'll keep a close eye on that and we'll manage it the best we can. I know that he'll manage it the best he can. We talked about it, and we'll just have to see what it ends up being. So we feel that our staffing's good. We should have lower amounts of overtime than we did this year, is what we are projecting. Because we went over budget by about $20,000 this year in overtime. But we had a lot of vacancies and hurt people and stuff like that. So you'll see most likely a budget amendment on that next month. But we still ended up in the black. So
Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 2018-22, which is adopting the tax revenues and budget for 2018?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported. Any further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Unanimous? Did I hear unanimous? Dean, you, yea?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then we will close the budget presentation, and it's been an hour. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll resume the regular meeting. Next is the consent agenda.
You can bring me any other things this time, get a little
If it's not.
trinkets.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
So for instance,
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, firefighter trinkets.
I've accumulated a few.
I was collecting little matchbox cars that were fire engines and stuff like that, and every time you would give them, I would give them one.
Oh, okay.
And I got them.
Oh.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I have, well, my grandkids probably got most of those. so
Yeah.
I kept it really cool. I have
Oh.
one that's a little white lights on the top.
Oh, cool. Sometimes I find that garage sale. Oh my God, I lose it.
Yeah, well, that one has to stay on the shelf.
Yeah.
because It would end up in the carpet or somewhere, in the dog.
Right,
With the project
up somebody's
cost.
nose.
Yeah. How's our wind calls from?
So how many years, Jimmy?
It's
39.
crazy.
39?
It's absolutely crazy,
You're
yeah.
20, right?
20 this year?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
We have, we've been listening
I
to the
think-
sheriff's department all day, and it's just
That's just the way it
nonstop.
works.
We're, we just called our tender group out to, block down road for us over there on, Noon and.
So do you have anything big
Oh,
planned?
okay.
To free up our engine company. And so those guys are on. the
No,
road. We have
all my
farm
family
water right
is
now in Birch Bay.
coming
In
in.
Birch Bay?
Well, it's over here in the Birch Bay area, I'm not exactly sure where it is.
Saturday,
That's
that's
where
where he
Henry
starts
is.
arriving.
Oh.
My sister is becoming
Yeah.
a US citizen, so she doesn't have any documents to enter the country
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So we're all comfortable here at the house, so my brother, my sister, her parents are all coming down.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah, so we'll have about 20 people.
Not all the
Yeah,
usual.
mine's small, much smaller. We go bowling Christmas
My power
Eve.
There you go.
You're very late, so even though it's a nice power line on birthday,
It's right.
I go down, my fuse goes up Deer Trail, and they had big trees go down up there last year, they were out for like 2 days.
Oh, man.
Like, there's a rule.
Yeah, same with us, we're usually in good shape, ours did go out this morning for a couple hours.
I blinked a little bit, but I haven't done. I was at Target, wouldn't be surprised if it was out.
I guess I can look it up too.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we may have to run out to Point Roberts, they're in bad shape, so we may send it to.
And you did it. The camera's still on, but I can.
Okay, we'll be back from our break at 2:05, and we'll move on to the agenda, to the consent agenda, which you have before you. And I'll just briefly go through the numbers for you here. Total revenue for November, $973,322.22. Total expenditures December, $845,328.26. And then we will also be approving the public hearing meeting notes from the 15th and the work session on the 15th, the budget work session. Also the staff reports, which you have in front of you, the financial report, and the voucher payroll benefits report, which numbers are as follows. Employees direct deposit payroll, $363,785. Non-direct payroll, $435. Benefits voucher, $278,120. Monthly expense vouchers, $185,810. Capital projects voucher, $17,177.93. Any comments or questions on the consent agenda?
Just one curious question, just going through some of the payables. What is the $29,000 legal fees for? Is that just over the course of the year?
Let me take a look. It's in the vouchers, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. I know we had union negotiations and things.
Yeah, I mean, we can pull those invoices if we need to, but from my memory, there was obviously the district attorney's presence here at the board meeting. There's a lot of contract work that the attorney has done for us with the Brennick proposal and with Auto Aid proposal that was recently approved.
A lot of the contract stuff.
Contract, being there for contract stuff, but I think that might have been the month before.
Was the lawsuit settled too?
Which one?
The lawsuit.
That was not our attorney that settled that. That was the insurance company's attorney that settled that lawsuit. We're thinking about this anymore.
It sounds like a couple of months, I don't have to break down to that.
Yeah, the way they bill us is not exactly every 30 days. It spans different months. But if you want, we can pull the invoices we have. Yeah, we can pull them for you and read them off to you if you want.
No, it's not necessary, just more of a curiosity, it just stood out at me.
Okay,
I didn't have anything to pull out.
No,
anything else? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anything for commissioner meeting reports? You want to do some other stuff?
Yeah, I looked at the Blaine City Council, I usually review the agendas, and if there's anything that's pertinent. Fire department, I will go, but there was not, other than Chief Holder's report.
I don't see anybody here from the local, so I'm assuming there's no report from the local.
Commissioner Bosner, if I may, I can tell you that I did talk to Ken Cunningham. He told me he was planning on being here. I don't know if I could make it, maybe their tree fell over in the driveway or something, I wouldn't doubt. But Ken is now the new representative for Local 106 starting January 1. They had an election, so he'll be probably here at the next meeting.
Okay, great.
What's his name?
Ken Cunningham?
Okay.
Okay. That election was probably last week, I would guess.
The 12th, I think.
Okay, anything on legal issues, Rich?
Nothing too significant. The one thing I would mention, which I thought was kind of an oddity, is I told you, I think last month, maybe a month before, about this paid family medical leave. The deductions start go into effect January 1. Benefits, people, in other words, people can't start taking their But the interesting thing is commissioners are covered by this, which means that 0.4% of your stipends, that's 0.4%, 0.004, gets paid to the state, which amounts to about 50 cents per day.
And gives you 12 weeks for any medical or
Honestly,
childbirthing.
I don't know how it's gonna be applied. I mean,
They don't qualify for FMLA.
They don't qualify, you're not employees. Argued round and round with employment security about this, and they told me that a lot of this stuff is still under review. They got policy people that are working on this, and they may change that, but their view was, look, there's an exemption for unemployment compensation. You don't pay premiums for unemployment on your behalf, but there was no similar exemption in the statute for paid family medical. So, well, they think the premium applies. We're gonna issue a memo to that to all our municipal clients, just hang that around to it. I just to mention that.
It's getting close to gifting the public.
That's all I have.
Hurry up and implement it and figure it out later.
Pretty much. They've had about 2 years.
Well, if you
to
get
issue
sick,
rates.
you get 12 weeks,
Coming
it's
down
paid.
again, and they won't have them all issued until next year.
We got
They're
all
only
those
phase
doses, too.
4 of that.
And just, commissioners, rest assured that we have a plan for that. We are ready to go January 1 with all the employees on the new FMLA.
That was in our budget.
Yes, it was added to our budget.
Well, as long as we're honest, I would love I don't quite understand how it works. And maybe not today, but maybe next meeting we could have a little discussion, because I don't get it.
We're gonna try, so I've got a couple of presentations I've given in January, and we're gonna try and get a memo out that just summarizes it.
We got one memo from you about it.
We're gonna try and get a little bit more comprehensive one, particularly since more rules are coming out, and then that can be circulated to the board and advance of meetings, so that's right.
Yeah, how someone applies for it, when they're qualified, how much, is there a bank, it would be nice to know kind of how it works. I'm just curious, because it could be a huge liability if what if 20 people want to do it all at the same time?
So in short, what happens is there's premium payments made by the employee and premium payments made by the employer. It goes into a bank, and the bank is getting built up over the year,
Okay.
and then people can start taking it, and they can get a percentage of their.
So you're not entitled to 12 weeks right out of the chute day one.
Well, according to the letter I got for our business, we are. The
Well,
employees are.
You can, but it's not 100% of your salary. It's a
Percentage of it.
It's a percentage of it.
Yeah.
Based on
whether you
what you
qualify.
paid.
And so if you're sick for your own serious health condition or that of a certain family member, and the individuals that are covered by that are a little broader than what we've seen in the past, like the federal family medical leave. There's siblings, kids of any age. So it was formerly limited to kids under 18, and grandchildren are, I think, the new segments that are somebody could take off leave for.
I was just gonna ask, did we not, as the department, get a letter from the state regarding this information? I got one, and I'll be more than share it with you.
No, we have it, and I've read it. It just, there's a lot of things I'd like to know.
It's not gonna impact us too greatly as an organization, because all of our folks are entitled to take their sick leave and vacation hours before they take their FMLA. It's not taken anymore at the same time. So most of the people that we have had that have been out long term have elected not to claim FMLA and have used all their sick leave and vacation hours before they even decide that they want to use their FMLA. So it's more of for our folks, it's more of a last effort in there to stay employed.
Right, because if you exhaust your sick leave and your FMLA, you could be terminated.
Or any PTO, so vacation included.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's, a clock starts at some point.
But we used to run it consecutively.
Right.
FMLA consecutively with sick leave and vacation usage, and we track the time.
Mhm.
And then after 12 weeks, no matter if you had vacation and stuff, you could still be terminated from your job.
Right.
But there was some case law that came out where that was challenged, and it was determined that no, people don't have to take the consecutive leave.
City of Bellevue mandates
concern for private small businesses.
Most likely,
It's
yeah.
all new ground.
Yeah, it's, you know, the mandatory sick leave and all that.
All right, well, maybe if we can get a Reader's Digest layman's
Yeah.
term, understanding of it, not the legalese one, would be nice. Thank you.
All right, unfinished business, fire chief recruitment process, we're still in the early stages of that, and that's ongoing. And we can talk a little bit more about that later on. Resolution 2018-23, interim fire chief, we need to sign resolutions. To get Joe certified as the interim fire chief, investment officer, and secretary of the board. Those are resolution 23, 24, and 25 are about. So it's just a standard business thing we need to do. But we need to actually approve each one of them separately, is my understanding. So I have a motion on each one. A motion for interim fire chief for Joe Winchester.
I move to approve resolution 2018-23 interim fire chief.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
24 is appointing Joe as the investment officer for the district, which usually goes with that position.
I move to approve resolution 2018-24 investment officer.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the third one, making Joe the secretary to the board for signing legal papers, being listed as the district secretary.
I move to approve resolution 2018-25 secretary to the board.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Northwood Store, this one's been on the agenda a long time. It is now officially going to be gone after this. The contract's been signed by the chief, myself, and Mr. Bray, and it's a done deal. So if anybody wants a copy of that, I think we had a copy in minutes.
I have a copy right here.
You have one right here. If anybody wants to have a copy of it, just sure they can have it. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as last time.
Lawyer got a hold of it, pound and a half.
So as I remember from the last meeting, you gave me the authority to have that signed, and put into practice, so that's been done.
Okay.
New business. Local zone contract.
Mr. Commissioner and Mr. Chair and other commissioners, we have the POGO zone contract back in front of you. As you might recall, about 2 years ago, we approved a contract between the district and POGO zone, which is a wireless internet provider here in the county, to use some of our station locations to set up some internet sites where they can sell to customers in areas that before didn't have any internet service. And as a caveat to that, we would, in lieu of rent, get breaks on our fiber optic cable and our Comcast internet services that were pretty expensive at the time. Since that time, there's been some changes in the environment, and POGO zone wanted to get back together to negotiate the contract. There were some things that happened. They wanted to put more locations up, more of our stations, and I think the cart got a little ahead of the horse, and so we pulled back on that and hadn't had a chance to really sit down and renegotiate this contract till last week. And it was one of those things kind of hanging out there before I wanted to kind of take care of. So Henry has been really the one that has the most knowledge on this, but since he's not here, I'll go over what the changes are. The contract is the same. The only difference is you'll see in the contract is under number 3, rent, and it's redlined of what the rent agreement is going to be for the addition of putting transmitters up at station 13, 68, 70, and 72. That's in addition to the 4 they've already done. And what they alluded to us, or what they had asked us for, was that they would basically, in lieu of the rent, which is $150 per month per location, that they would give us, they would only charge us a small amount of money for the fiber optic use that we have in the district. And I don't think I see on here what the actual cost was, but it was only about $200 or $300.
It's 300 per strand.
300 per strand, yep.
Internet access at $10 a month.
There it is right there. So, yeah, so 300 per strand, internet access for $10 a month, which is a bargain. Which, if you do the math, it comes out to $150 in rent per pole, okay? And so there's a leasehold excise tax of $19.26 that will be forwarded to us to forward on to the state. We have to do that. And, again, they will pay those excise taxes to us at the appropriate times. And that's the only changes to the contract. Our attorney has gone through the contract as well to make sure there's no surprises in there. And with your agreement, then you would authorize the fire chief to sign the contract with Pogo Zone. So you don't actually have to sign it, the fire chief can sign it. And we will move forward with allowing them to put up some more bolts and continue to give us the deals we're getting on our fiber optic service, which has was increasing every year. We were paying about $400 to $500 to $600 a site, and now we're only going to be paying $300. So, and then we were paying whatever our normal fees were for Comcast Internet, which could be pretty hefty, and now they're giving us for $10 a month. So, we felt that the back and forth was adequate, equal, and we felt that we would be doing the public a service by allowing more internet access out there for folks to take advantage of. And so with that, I'll entertain any questions you might have about the contract and do my best to answer them.
Okay. This is one of the things that normally wouldn't be on the agenda because we have no advance notice, but this is a pretty simple, straightforward thing. And so it's here. And my opinion as the chair is that we go ahead and have it on the agenda. Normally would say we need a month, but it's very minor change. So that's why it's on here without you having advance notice other than the minutes. Any questions?
I'm good. I'll make a motion to approve the chief signing the new revised Pogo Zone contract. So, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Resolution 2018-26, records, policy and procedure.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I will probably have the attorney help me with the description of what the change is on this policy and procedure on our public records. But as you might recall, you approved this a few months back, and we were challenged with the public records request on medical records that we weren't quite sure about. And so we asked our attorney, and he replied to us saying that, oh, yeah, there's something I need to change on the policy to be able to comply with the medical records charges that we're currently charging.
So it relates to medical records, and under the state law, they're entitled to charge a certain amount for records, and that was what we had in this policy to begin with. It turns out that under the federal law, HITECH, there are limitations on what you can charge. You can't charge for staff time and looking for the records, and then there's caps on what can be charged. And it only applies to covered entities. So agencies that are not covered, it goes to the definition of a covered entity, which is one that bills insurance for medical services that are provided. So we fall under that definition of a covered entity and therefore are subject to HITECH, which means we can't charge as much as we otherwise would be able to under state law. So we're bound by federal law. And so the changes here that you see are consistent with the federal HITECH law. So as opposed to what I think before was somewhere in the $20-some range, we're essentially going to be limited to $650. Yeah, $650.
For those specific medical
For
records.
specific medical records, yes.
Yeah. And is this something that like an insurance company would inquire about? I mean, who would be asking for medical records?
Could be from the patient, could be from the attorney for the patient.
Usually it's patients. The two that we've had that were challenged under the new rule was a patient record, and an attorney's office contacted us and said, hey, there's these new rules, and we're only going to pay this much, and that's how it came to our attention.
Okay.
So we realized our policy needed to be adapted for that.
No charge for making this change.
So So the only changes are to the 5.11.5.4, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and then there's a small change to the actual form itself that's in the policy. The public records request form has a small change on it as well. That's page 14.
And the email is underlined in blue, but that's just a link.
That's a link. Yeah.
And then, just FYI, the resolution that we saw, the cover of it, we removed the second whereas because
So we have the corrected one.
the corrected one is in front of us. There was
one that was transposed on there.
yeah,
Yeah.
One extra whereas.
the whereas pertaining to Mass Mutual did not apply and was removed.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 2018-26, the public records policy and procedure update?
Okay, I move to approve resolution 2018-26, public records policy and procedure.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. You also have in front of you the meeting dates for next year for your information. And I don't think there's any change to that. It's always the same, the third Thursday, right? Okay. So, before we publish those, we should have a motion to approve them. So I would move that we approve the 2019 meeting dates listed in resolution 2018-27.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's approved. 2019 is a cancellation of warrant.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we had a cancellation of a warrant. We're asking you to approve. The original warrant was in the amount of $14.83 to Vandria Propane. Apparently that was issued in error, so we called it.
I'll move to approve resolution 2018-29.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discussion on awards and recognition. That's yours.
Commissioners, I'm the one that asked to put this on the agenda. And I had reached out to all of you here recently and asked your opinion on some awards. And I know you've offered that you would like to start doing that as a commissioner board, recognizing our people. And historically, what we've done every year is we've done an annual recognition award for three things: volunteer of the year, firefighter of the year, and employee of the year. And we would also like to get going. I think in the years past, we used to have a citizen commendation type of an award. And I know that you folks have also suggested some things from the commissioner award. We have the opportunity for 2019 to do, and I guess it's one of our first, or maybe it's from a long time ago, a citizen commendation award, and we'd like to do that in February. And if you're not aware of the incident, it was we had a structure fire a few weeks ago on Sunrise Road, and a passerby noticed that this house was on fire, and she pulled into the driveway and actually got the residents out of the home who were not aware that their house was on fire. And she not only got them out of their home, but she kept them out of their home. They wanted to go back in to retrieve things, and she stayed there with them on that scene for quite some time, protecting them. And it's all on audio. It's a fantastic time that we can recognize a citizen for a heroic effort. So what I'd like to suggest is that we get the information together, invite her and the occupants of that home to a commissioner meeting, and my suggestion would be most likely in February, so that we have time to prepare for that. Our thought was to get a plaque together or something for this lady and have it presented to the board. So
That's a great idea.
these are those rare events that happen, and I really want to take advantage of thanking her. And the occupants, there was a language barrier that she was able to overcome somehow, which is another big thing. And so we'll bring that family in, and then we'll arrange for an interpreter for you too. So the 3 awards that we've always done annually, we'd like to keep that going. We're a little bit late this year, I think. Chief President usually have the ballots out in December and then the awards in January. I think we're gonna be about a month late on that, but we'd like to keep those going as well. So, based on those things, what additional things would the commissioners like to see for awards? I know that Commissioner Crawford, you had suggested years of service type of awards.
Correct, yeah. Was that story in this week's Linden Tribune?
It was.
That's what I thought, yeah. Did you see it? It was a Spanish family that had been here like 30 years or so. I don't know exactly where the house is on Sunrise, but yeah, they were sleeping while it was burning.
It was, yeah, it was late in the evening, and it was I'm not sure if it was an attic fire, but it was a roof. It was up in the upper part of the structure, so they were inside and didn't even know it. So,
They retired from Enfield.
Yeah, and the berries, yeah.
So years of service, you're thinking like a plaque or?
Usually those are done by five-year increments, so that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, and then that would be something that would be done at this format, or?
Can be done at this format, I guess.
That's a good idea. I don't know why we've never done that. I know we always do it in other state agencies have been involved in, so.
Well, our strategic plan had a planning committee that was assigned to awards and whatnot, and they came up with some initial ideas. I think they were planning more of like awards ceremony outside of the board meeting, outside of the commissioner meeting, somewhere where, in a banquet hall or something like that.
Yeah.
But that kind of died off, and we haven't heard much from that group, so. They talked about years of service, and they talked about commendations for calls and those kinds of things, which are all great things to acknowledge.
Rich, can you enlighten us on sort of the boundaries that were restricted as far as like a banquet or something like that? Are there some limits as to
There are, yeah.
using public funds?
There's a very entertaining Attorney General opinion, it's probably 30 years old on that very topic, and it hasn't been superseded by anything that's more relevant to it.
That's good.
I mean, I think it would be neat in the future, probably not this year, to think about an awards banquet, where something like this would happen. I think for this year, implementing the 5-year increments is a start, but then be able to do that. Or I guess we could hold it off and roll it into next year, rollout banquet thing, or end of the year type event. I don't know if you guys have a preference on that. Obviously, it would probably take a committee
Well, it sounds like we already have a committee, right?
there's a strategic planning committee that's been formed, yeah, and without looking, I don't know who's on that committee, and if the members are still intact or not, but I can look into that.
We want to reactivate that committee with some of these ideas.
So what I would suggest is that we continue on with the 3 historical awards that we normally do, the volunteer of the year, employee, and firefighter, and then the commendation in February, and then get the group activated again and plan for maybe something like in 2019 or in 2020 for a banquet.
Yeah, and then I don't know, I mean, I kind of informally thought of a commissioner's award or recognition that may not necessarily have to be an annual award, but could be kind of an ad hoc thing. If something occurred or someone was involved in something that was kind of exemplary that we as a board of commissioners would like to recognize, an individual event, whether it was, we do the food drive, or we do school program, or we do, you know, something that's kind of over and above that, you know, is to be recognized, and we could come up with an idea of a mug, a plaque, a certificate, or something that came from the board. I'd like to maybe put some more time and thought into that before we pull the trigger on it, but that's just an area that it would be nice to recognize people throughout the year rather than a one-time event. And it doesn't have to be every month. I think it would be something that we probably should think about some criteria amongst ourselves and what rises to that level and how we would manage that. I don't know, I think it's...
Commissioner Ansel, if I might suggest.
Sure.
In my past lifetime in a different department, they did something called the Golden Axe Award. It was an axe that had the department's logo on it. It was in a nice box with velvet in the back, and it had a slider on it. And it was awarded to the shift and station that every month. It was awarded to a different station, and it passed around the department.
Oh, okay.
So,
So
you
you
could
only
keep it for a long time until somebody else did something that was extraordinary. And there was a ballot process. So if you caught someone doing something extraordinary, you could fill out this ballot for the Golden Axe Award and turn it in, and the chiefs would evaluate every month the entries that came in, and they would award it to a station or shift, and they had a little slider you could slide in it to have that station and shift on it. And every station had hooks on a wall that you could hang it on. And it went around, you know, every year, every month or so, every couple of months, something would change, and they would go to another station, another shift, and they'd take pictures with it, all that, and they'd hang it in their station until the next person did something about it. So
Okay.
that's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
You know, just something that maybe people have some pride in and strive for, and sort of build some esprit de corps, if you want to call it. And, as long as they're not up at 2 a.m. stealing it from station. I can't imagine firefighters ever doing it.
So maybe the first step would be seeing if we can reactivate that committee and start thinking about some of those ideas.
We'll have a report for you next month.
I'd like to make a comment on that. We don't have to really reinvent the wheel either. I belong to an antique car club and an antique tractor club, and they have, every year, they have an awards banquet, and they have, not an axe. The one club has a genuine big silver tray, food serving tray about this big, and each year, whoever it is, their name is printed, and then they're given a little, what happens is, they get to take that tray home with them for an entire year, and then when they bring it back at the next awards, they get a little small one, a copy of it with their name on it, and it goes up year after year, and it's during a banquet, so there's food and so forth. It's about a 3 or 4 or 5 hour, maybe a little too big, but they've done this for years and years, so we don't have to reinvent it if we want to copy somebody else's program for awards. And that's what the silver tray is now an award for the most outstanding member of the club who's worked the hardest.
So we're thinking February-ish to do the normal annual awards, is what you're saying?
That's what it sounds like, yeah, because
Yeah.
it takes time to get
Yeah.
things put together and maybe.
Ballots done. So,
Good.
sounds good.
All right. Correspondence, we've had everybody go through that. Any questions or comments on that? If not, the next resolution is 2018-28, which is a recognition of Fire Chief Burnett. And it's a resolution that I'm going to read into the minutes and then ask for a motion and approval. This is a resolution of the Boards of Commissioners of Whatcom County Fire Districts 21 and 4 in recognition of Chief William Burnett. whereas William Burnett was hired June 16, 2014 by Whatcom County Fire Protection District 21 in the position of Division Chief of Operations, bringing over 24 years of fire service experience from Southern Arizona. And whereas Division Chief William Burnett was promoted to the rank of Fire Chief September 1, 2015 upon the sudden retirement of former Chief Ron Anderson. And whereas Fire Chief William Burnett served as a Board Secretary to Whatcom Fire District 21 and Finance Officer to Whatcom Fire District 4. And whereas Chief Burnett demonstrated strong leadership and career development by earning his professional designation of Fire Chief Officer in December of 2016. And whereas Chief Burnett dedicated himself to the advance of safety, professionalism, and fiscal responsibility of the district. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. Chief William Burnett is hereby recognized for his dedicated service to the members of North Whatcom Fire and Rescue, its citizens, and the greater Whatcom County community. The boards of commissioners of Whatcom County Fire Districts 21 and 4 extend their deep appreciation to Chief Burnett and wish him great success in his pursuit of future career opportunities. And I would ask for a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have a little plaque that I want to give to you. This is in recognition of your dedicated service commitment to North Whatcom Fire and Rescue. And has a badge on it, and we hope that we carry this with you with our sincere thanks.
Thank you.
All right?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Watch the cards.
Yeah. Try not to-
Thanks.
Try not to get injured before I leave.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good luck, Roger.
And thank you, Jenny, for your assistance in making that happen.
Okay, before we go to executive session, agenda items for the next meeting will be board officer elections. We'll talk about the division chief of operations, ambulance bid approval, and budget amendments which will be necessary for the 2018 budget. And then we're going to break into executive session for RCW 4230-110, 1C to consider real estate, and 4230-110G to evaluate qualifications of applicant for public employment. I would guess we should be finished with that by 3 o'clock, maybe a little bit after. So,
What about the board meeting attendance for the next meeting?
yeah. Everybody make the January meeting?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, we'll get
Yes.
on that? All right, good.
Okay.
All right, we'll go into executive session for about 15, 20 minutes. Is the,
Turn the camera on.
snow.
Except for the section between Shintapper and the village, the rest is all snow.
No.
I caught in the right spot.